Yeah, this is all great, but most designers will never even be in a room with someone that might offer $50,000 for a design.
Let me respond to this. This is a mindset problem. If you confine yourself to a certain physical space and you say, well, there's nothing beyond the edges of this universe, that beyond it is monsters and peril and certain death and doom and despair, you'll never venture forth beyond a certain perimeter. And we can understand that. There's a story of fleas, that a flea can jump X number of times its height. And if you put fleas in a jar and you put a lid, they jump and they hit their head, they jump and they hit their head. Eventually, you can take the lid off and the fleas will no longer jump beyond the confines of the jar. So it's kind of interesting how we can learn certain ideas and behaviors and then predestine ourselves to never achieving more than that. So if you confine yourself to saying, I will never get on a plane, I will never marry someone before this age, I will never be able to be in a room where people will consider the things that I do to be worth of X amount of money. We have to change this kind of finite scarcity, fixed mindset to being open to anything that's possible. And the way I look at it is like, there was a time in my life, I didn't like sushi. I didn't like raw fish. And I ordered a large plate of tuna sashimi. I didn't understand that's what I was ordering. And then I tried to eat it and I almost wanted to gag and throw up in the bathroom. Now today, if you ask me, what is my favorite type of food to eat? I'll tell you point blank, look you right in the eye and say sushi. So the first time you do something is, guess what? The first time that you do it. All you have to do is approach life with a curious and open mind, which I think most of you would think. If I were to ask you and we bumped into each other on the street, how open-minded are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Are you going to tell me 1? Are you going to tell me 10 or 12? This is what I talk about when I talk about this kind of fixed mindset. So when somebody says, most of us creatives will never be in a room where someone has a $50,000 problem for us to solve, you are absolutely, you're right. Because you manifest it into your life. You say, I'm not worth this. So then therefore you don't associate with people that are in a position to pay you more than $50,000 to do the work that you do. You don't seek out a peer group who thinks like this because you feel like they're fake. There must be something wrong. You don't go to workshops. You don't read books. You don't take courses on how to do this because you've resigned yourself to the fact that this is not possible. And I know this idea is so offensive to so many people that they comment with such great vitriol saying this is not possible, I'm a scammer, I'm a liar, easy for you to say this is all fake. I'm not here to prove you otherwise. You can do whatever you want. You can have the life that you want. That's up to you. But for me, the way I look at it is design solves problems. My job is to get into a room when someone has a big enough problem that they're willing to pay a certain amount of money to make that pain go away. And I want to be there for that conversation. And I have been. So I'm going to take you on my whole arc because I think some of you might falsely assume, easy for Chris to say, he's got a silver spoon. He's got a trust fund set up for him. He's got all the advantages set up in life. I would admit to one of them specifically and the other are totally untrue. The greatest advantage that I have in my life is I was raised in America. That I have to acknowledge because here, there are opportunities for anyone. You can create the kind of future that you want despite your origins, despite your backstory. Because my family and I, we came to America in 1975 as poor refugees who didn't speak the language, didn't understand the customs and the cultures. English is not my first language. We moved through the lower socioeconomic strata to being, I think to the time my parents, by the time I was 18, upper middle class. So I don't know what I'm not capable of, and I don't know what I'm capable of. All I know is just try and see what happens. And that mantra has carried me pretty far. So when I go to Art Center, I've got a scholarship, 50% scholarship. I have some loans, no grants. So I was able to get a Stafford loan and some contribution from my parents and a credit card. And through the combination of those four things, I was able to get myself through college with quite a bit of debt in student loans and credit card debt. I think I had maxed out 2 credit cards. This is all financial context for everyone who's listening to this. When I was in school, I did some freelance work. And I think the most I was paid was $30 an hour doing bank brochures. I didn't let how my life began determine how it's going to end. Every part of your life, there's a chapter and it's unwritten and you get to decide how it's going to play out. That's entirely up to you. Soon after earning $30 an hour, I was thinking, this is the most I've ever made an hour. I wonder what the limit to that is, and I'm going to try it out. So for most of you, $30 times 8-hour day is $240. That's the day rate. So when I first started freelancing, I'm not even a year out of school yet. First started freelancing, I tried $300 a day, and they said yes. Then I was like, if they said yes to that, what will they say no to? So I kept playing this game with myself by increasing the rate whenever possible, any new job opportunity, any new client. So it went to $400, $450, $500, $650, $700. And I think I met a theoretical cap. And I didn't say to myself, the most I will ever be paid is $700 a day, which is an outrageous sum of money, by the way. I want to acknowledge that. I just kept asking myself, what do I have to do? What do I have to know? Who do I have to become such that people would say, it would give us great pleasure to give you this money? So I want to fast forward a bunch of bumps in the road here because I don't want to bore you with all that stuff. But then we get to this point now where people happily pay me $30,000 to have me speak for 45 minutes. I've traveled all the way from $30 an hour to quite literally $30,000 an hour, but I'm not the same person. I have the same curiosity, the same willingness to do the hard work, and it's built on decades of experience, personal stories, and actual examples of things I've done to put myself in a position where someone will pay me $30,000 to speak for less than an hour. If you're new to this channel, you don't know who I am, my name's Chris Dell. I want to introduce myself. I'm a loud introvert and I have this really big mission to teach 1 billion people how to make a living doing what they love. In a previous life, I was a motion designer and director. I worked on commercials and music videos for some of the biggest bands and brands in the world, like Coldplay, like Jet, like Justin Timberlake, and worked on commercials for Audi, for Microsoft. And I use this experience to build up a financial nest egg for me such that I can pursue my deepest passion, which is education, and my true identity is an educator. So I'm here leveraging 20 plus years of working in the industry in the most competitive market, Los Angeles, to help translate some of those experiences so that you, wherever you are in your creative journey, can apply some of the principles that I'm talking about in creativity and business, design, mindset, leadership, so that you can have some of that success that I've been so fortunate to receive. That's who I am. I'm sure some of you are sitting here thinking, okay, well, you were blessed, fortunate, whatever the word you want to use, in that the experience then allowed me to have this mindset. And normally I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. But actually, I think you're totally wrong. It's that I have this mindset that the experience happens. Without the mindset, the experience doesn't happen. When someone posts on the job board at Art Center, looking for designer, $30 an hour to work on bank brochures, I tear that thing, I take the phone number, I call a person, I show them my portfolio, they say, okay, you're hired, we'll give you some work to do. So the market told me $30 an hour. That was my experience. And if I left it there, I would have just stayed at $30 an hour. I might have, after a year of doing this, might thought like to myself, like maybe I should charge $40 an hour. But it was my belief system, my philosophy to ask myself, I wonder what the limitation is of what someone would pay me to do the work that they're asking me to do. So then that allowed me to take a different set of actions because your belief system determines what you're going to say. And what you say is more likely going to indicate what you're going to do. And when you have the results of what you do, they inform or reinforce your belief system. And so we can be stuck in this thing where we're only paid $30 an hour. And then it tells us that's the maximum. What I'm trying to tell you right now, the biggest fundamental change that you're going to have in your life isn't necessarily to change what you're going to say or do, but it's to start with what you believe to be true, what you believe you're capable of doing. Now, I also need to say this because people will get up in arms about it and say, well, not everybody can do what you do. That is true. Thankfully, not everybody can do what I do. Not everybody went to a 4-year private art school university and did everything they could to be at the top of their class, to work on their portfolio, to have some mastery of craft. Most of my videos make the assumption that you've done the work. I'm not here to sell you shortcuts. I'm not here to tell you about life hacks, about how you don't have to have any skill. You have to have skill. You have to put in your 10,000 hours of deliberate, intentional practice at working on your craft. Once you've done that, you'll find out that doing another 10,000 hours of practice in your craft will only create incremental improvements in your financial well-being. That after you've done that initial work, the rest of the transformation is going to happen, believe it or not, in your mind and not the craft itself. about how you position yourself, about how you think of your work and the kinds of problems you're trying to solve, improving your communication skills, understanding things like marketing and sales, how you handle objections when they come in the buy-sell cycle. If you have a healthy attitude about the work that you do and the value that you create, built on a foundation of skill and deliberate intentional practice, then we should be having this kind of dialogue. And this is who this video is for. So it's your belief system that informs how you're going to behave. It's not the other way around. If you're listening to this and you're still here with me and you're thinking, okay, if the belief system is the thing that creates the path for you, what does one need to do to be able to have this kind of mindset? Okay, there's a couple of simple steps, all right? First, I want you to ask yourself, is my current belief system, my identity, my worldview, is it serving me right now? And if you're watching this video, chances are it's not serving you right now because you're like, why can't I achieve these things? So in order for you to achieve these things, you cannot use the same operating system. You can't continue down the same paths. There's a quote somewhere that says, the thinking that created the problem can't be the thinking that solves the problem because you created the problem. You've designed a beautiful, luxurious prison for your mind and you live in it. So if you've decided enough is enough, I don't want this thing that I keep getting, then that's the first step to say like, okay, I've tried it my way for months, years, or decades. It's not working for me. I want to try something else. You have to be open to this thing. And the thing that you're going to hear is going to challenge your core fundamental beliefs. It has to, otherwise it's not worth pursuing. It has to be such a radical idea. It feels like a slap in the face, and it's something that challenges your perception of reality and the rules of life. This is why so few people are able to make the kind of progress that they need to make in their life to improve their standing. Because they hear an idea that's foreign, that challenges their belief systems, and they systematically just reject and push it away. And there's many forms that this will take place because it's deceptive. One form will be, well, that will probably work for some people, but it won't work for me. You have the exceptional rule. It'll work for everyone except for me. There's the other thing that says, you know what? I'll do this tomorrow. So that's the procrastinator speaking in your ear saying, you know what? We do believe this. We believe we're capable of doing this, but today's not the day. I have too much at stake. We'll put this off till tomorrow. There's the third voice in your head that's going to say, well, we need a perfect plan and proof before we should do this because we have too much to risk. This is the perfectionist voice that tells you everything must be lined up because the fear of failure is enough for us to not want to take action. Well, I read something from Layla Hormozi that said, the risk of being humiliated or failure is the cost of entry for the growth that you seek in your life. So we have to risk failing, which might seem like humiliation and ridicule. And that's just the cost of playing the game. And you have to surrender. You have to let go of your old identity to say like, you know what? That got me here. I'm grateful for all my beliefs and my culture, my customs, and my habits. But now in order for me to go and ascend the next mountain, I have to release myself of some of this baggage to make myself lighter, physically, spiritually, mentally. So what we do is we seek people who we trust, and it doesn't need to be me, seek whoever you want, who can say something to you and say, do this next step. And for us to be able to accept that and hold it in our heart and say, okay, I don't understand it. I don't have a perfect plan. I believe I'm capable of doing this. I don't have any assurances it's going to work, but I'm going to do it. Just going to do it. And I have countless examples of people who approach me up on the street, at a convention, at a coffee shop, say, you know, Chris, I didn't think it was going to work, that thing you said for us to do. I didn't think that whole double your rate thing was going to work. I didn't think saying no or making myself less available was going to work. And I did it. And you know what? I sit there and I smile like, what, pray tell? It worked, Chris. I'm like, you don't say. You don't say the thing that I've been telling you to do for the last 9 years, over and over, in every form that I know how to say it, in words, in role plays, on a whiteboard, on a keynote presentation, on a pre-scripted talk. I was trying to say it in a different way so you can hear me. And so the only thing you need to ask yourself today, are you ready to hear me? Are you ready to cast aside your limiting beliefs, your self-doubt, and your need for perfectionism and procrastination as defensive tools to achieving the life that you want. If you're ready, I'm here for you. And the step forward, it's not that complicated. Act in spite of any assurances that anything's going to work. Calm seas don't make great sailors. If you want to go out there and explore the world, be an explorer, you have to be brave enough to face some unknown things, some potential peril. You have to risk something. But as another quote, if you think I'm expensive, wait till you get the bill from someone who doesn't know what they're doing.